Scorch Trials, Chapter 49, on this PDF, page 165. Thomas was quiet as he ate with Group B and prepared to leave. Soon they started making their way through the dark pass of mountains, heading for the safe haven that was supposed to wait on the other side. It felt odd to suddenly be friendly with these people after what they'd done to him, but they acted like nothing unusual had ever happened. They treated him like one of the girls. But he did keep his distance a little, hanging toward the back, wondering if he could fully trust their change of heart about him. What was he supposed to do? Even if Harriet and the others let him leave, should he try to find his own group, Minot and Newt and everyone else? He desperately wanted to be with his friends and Brenda again, but he knew time was running out, and he had no food or water to make it on his own. He had to hope they'd find their way to the safe haven. So he kept walking, staying close to Group B, but not too close. A couple of hours went by, nothing but tall cliffs of stone and the crunching of dirt and rock under his feet to keep him company. It felt good to move again, to stretch his legs and muscles. The deadline was fast approaching, though, and who knew what obstacle might spring up next, or had the girls planned something else for him? He thought a lot about the dreams he'd been having, but still couldn't put enough together to truly understand what was going on. Harriet drifted back until the two of them were walking side by side. "Sorry we dragged you through the desert in a bag," she said. He couldn't see her face in the dim light very well, but he imagined a smirk there. "Oh, no problem. It felt good to take the load off for a while." Thomas knew he had to play the part, show some humor. He couldn't trust the girls completely yet, but he had no other options. She laughed, a sound that put him at ease a bit. "Yeah, well, the man from Wicked gave us very specific instructions about you, but it was Teresa who got all obsessed about it, almost like killing you was her idea." This dug at Thomas, but he finally had a chance to learn some things, and he wasn't going to let that go. "Did the guy have a white suit and kind of look like a rat turned human?" "Yeah," she said without hesitating. "Same guy who talked to your group?" Thomas nodded. "What were the specific instructions he gave you?" "Well, most of our trip has been through underground tunnels. That's why you didn't see us in the desert. The first thing we were supposed to do was that weird thing where you and Teresa spoke in that building on the south side of the city. Remember?" Thomas's stomach fell. She'd been with her group at that point. Uh, yeah, I remember." "Well, you've probably figured it out, but all of that was an act, kind of a prepare to give you some false security. She even told us they somehow controlled her long enough to make her kiss you. Is that true?" Thomas stopped walking, bent down, and put his hands on his knees. Something had sucked the breath right out of him. That was it? He'd officially and completely lost any trace of doubt. Teresa had turned against him, or maybe she had never really been on his side. "I know this sucks," Harriet said softly. "It seems like you used to feel really close to her." Thomas stood up again, slowly sucked in a long breath. I hoped it was the other way around, that they were forcing her to try to hurt us, that she broke away long enough to kiss me." Harriet put a hand on his arm. "Ever since she joined us, she's made you out to be a monster who did something really awful to her, only she'd never tell us what it was. But I gotta tell ya, you're not anything like how she described you. That's probably the real reason we changed our minds." Thomas closed his eyes and tried to calm his heart. Then he shook it off and started walking again. "Okay, tell me the rest. I need to hear it. All of it." Harriet got in stride with him. "Everything else about the instructions to kill you had to do with catching you in the desert like we did and bringing you back here. We were even told to keep you in the bag until we got out of Group A's sight. Then the big day was supposed to be the day after tomorrow. There's supposed to be a place built into the mountain on the north side, a special place to kill you. Thomas wanted to stop again, but kept his feet moving. A place? What does that mean? I don't know. He just told us we'd know what to do when we got there. She paused, then snapped her fingers as if she'd just thought of something. I bet that's where she went earlier. Why? How close are we to the other side? No idea, actually. They fell into silence and kept walking. It took longer than Thomas would have thought. They were in the middle of the second night of marching when shouts up ahead announced that they'd reached the end of the pass. Thomas, who'd stayed at the back of the group, broke into a run to catch up. He desperately wanted to see what lay on the north side of the range. One way or another, his fate waited there. The group of girls had clustered in a wide swath of broken rock that fanned out from the narrow canyon of the pass before dropping into a steep slope to the bottom of the mountain far below. The three-quarter moon shone on the valley in front of them, making it look dark purple and eerie, and very flat, with nothing for miles and miles but sparse dead land. Absolutely nothing. No sign of anything that could be a safe haven, and they were supposed to be within a few miles of it? Maybe we just can't see it. Thomas didn't know who said it, but he knew every person there understood exactly why she did, trying to hold on to hope. Yeah, Harriet added, sounding upbeat. It might just be another entrance to one of their underground tunnels. I'm sure it's there. How many more miles do you think we have left? Sonia asked. Can't be more than 10, based on where we started and how far the man said we had to go, Harriet answered. Probably more like 7 or 8. I thought we'd come out over here and we'd see a nice big building with a smiley face on it. Thomas had been searching the darkness the whole time, but he couldn't see anything either, just a sea of black stretching to the horizon, where it seemed like a curtain of stars had been pulled down, and no sign of Teresa anywhere. Well, Sonia announced, not much choice but to keep heading north. We should have known better than to expect something easy. Maybe we can make it to the bottom of the mountain by sunrise, sleep on the flat ground. The others agreed with her and were just about to set off down a barely visible footpath leading from the fan of rock when Thomas spoke up. Where's Teresa? Harriet looked back at him, the moonlight bathing her face in pale luminescence. At this point, I don't really care. If she's a big enough girl to go running around when she doesn't get her way, she's big enough to catch up and find us when she gets over it. Come on. They started off, heading down the switchback-laden path, the loose soil and rock crunching underfoot. Thomas couldn't help but take a look behind him, searching the mountain face and the narrow entrance to the pass for signs of Teresa. He was so confused about everything, but still had a strange urge to see her. He gazed across the dark slopes, but saw only dim shadows and reflections of the moonlight's glow. He turned and started walking, almost relieved he hadn't spotted her. The group made their way down the mountain, crisscrossing back and forth on the trail in silence. Thomas lingered in the back again, surprised at how blank his mind felt, how numb. He had absolutely no idea where his friends were, no idea what dangers might be waiting for him. After an hour or so of traveling, his legs started to burn from the awkward downhill walk. The group came across a pocket of dead trees that arrowed up the mountain in a big swath. It almost looked as if at one time a waterfall might have irrigated to the odd formation of trees, though if it had, the last drop had long since surrendered to the scorch. Thomas, still last in line, was just passing the far side of the trees when a voice spoke his name, startling him so much he almost tripped. He turned sharply to see Teresa step out from behind a thick knot of white wood, spear gripped in her right hand, her face hidden in shadow. The others must not have heard because they kept walking. Teresa, he whispered. What? He didn't even know what to say. Tom, we need to talk. She responded, almost sounding like the girl he thought he knew. Don't worry about them, just come with me. She gestured to the trees behind her with a jerk of her head. He looked back to the girls of Group B, still heading away from him, then turned to face Teresa again. Maybe we should just come on. The act is over. She turned away without waiting for a response and stepped into the lifeless forest. Thomas thought hard for 2 whole seconds, his mind spinning in confusion, instinct screaming at him not to do it. But he followed her.